Walking out of the dark meadow that evening, Ethan and Olivia held hands. Their fingers were tightly locked, as if any space left between them might let the old ghosts of the past slip back in. The town of Willow Creek felt completely different under the silver moonlight. It was no longer a place of stagnant routine. It was where their future lived. The next morning, the corporate boardroom completely transformed. When the meetings resumed, the cold, suffocating masks they had worn were entirely gone. Ethan spoke about the structural engineering of the new medical hub with a renewed passion, while Olivia handled the medical logistics with a bright, steady confidence. Months flew by like a beautiful blur. Every single evening after their long shifts, Ethan and Olivia made up for the decade of silence. Sitting inside her small, cozy cottage, they shared everything, shattering the rumors of the past, replacing them with a deep, unshakable understanding. As the autumn leaves turned gold and crimson, the new Willow Creek Medical Hub stood fully completed, a physical manifestation of Ethan's brilliant mind and Olivia's healing soul. On the night of the grand opening, after the crowds had cleared, Ethan found Olivia standing on the building's top balcony. He walked up behind her, pulling her close against his chest. "We built it," he whispered. Olivia smiled, turning to face him. "No," she corrected softly, "you built a bridge back to me." Without another word, Ethan pulled out her old silver ring and gently slid it back onto her finger. Under the starlit canopy of the midnight sky, they walked back to the ancient banyan tree. Ethan pulled out his old pocket knife, kneeling beside the weathered trunk. Slowly, deliberately, he carved a fresh, deep heart around the childhood initials they had left behind a lifetime ago. Olivia knelt beside him, tears of pure happiness reflecting the stars. The test of time was officially over. Under the watchful, eternal gaze of the old banyan tree, their forever had finally begun, and they knew they would never truly break apart again. A year later, the medical hub wasn't just a building anymore. It was the heartbeat of Willow Creek. The halls that once felt heavy with isolation were now filled with light, hope, and healing. Every single day, Ethan and Olivia walked those corridors together, no longer hiding behind professional masks, but living out the dream they had once thought was completely lost to the shadows. The whispers of the small town finally changed. The old rumors evaporated, replaced by stories of a love that refused to die, a bond that survived 10 years of silence and the cold distance of a big city. They had proved that sometimes, you have to lose your way just to realize exactly where you belong. Every year, on the anniversary of that golden twilight reunion, they returned to the eastern meadows. The ancient banyan tree still stands tall, its massive roots anchoring their past, while its sprawling canopy shelters their beautiful future. As they stand beneath the carved heart, holding hands under the endless, swirling stars, Ethan gently turns to Olivia, his voice filled with an eternal peace. "We survived the storm, Liv," he whispers softly. Olivia smiles, leaning her head tightly against his shoulder as the midnight wind moves through the leaves. "No, Ethan," she whispers back, tears of absolute joy catching the starlight. "We didn't just survive. We finally came home." And so, the 10-year canyon of silence was completely gone, erased by a love that was simply too strong to be broken. Their story became a living legend in the quiet streets of Willow Creek, a reminder to anyone who has ever lost someone they loved that true destiny can never be permanently stolen by time, rumors, or distance. As the months turned into years, the town began to notice a shift. It wasn't just the physical addition of the modern medical facility, or the beautifully paved streets leading up to its entrance. It was the energy of the people. Ethan and Olivia had brought hope back to a community that had slowly been forgetting how to dream. Every single person who walked through the doors of the clinic could feel the warmth embedded in the very foundation of the building. It was a structure designed by a man who knew what it meant to build a sanctuary, and run by a woman who knew exactly how to heal a broken spirit. On rainy Tuesday afternoons, when the clinic grew quiet, Ethan would often slip away from his architectural firm down the street just to bring Olivia a warm cup of coffee. They would stand by the large glass windows of her office, watching the rain wash over the pavement, talking about the most ordinary things. They talked about what to cook for dinner, the books they wanted to read, and the small repairs needed on her cozy cottage. To anyone else, it was mundane conversation. But to them it was a miracle. For 10 long years, they had been denied the luxury of the ordinary. Every mundane detail of their shared life now felt like a rare, precious gift. The change in Ethan was undeniable. The sharp, tense city professional had completely melted away, replaced by the relaxed, laughing boy Olivia had fallen in love with under the banyan tree. He no longer stared at the clock, waiting for the day to end. His home was no longer a lonely apartment in Capital City. His home was right here, walking beside her. And Olivia's laughter, which had been absent for so long, now echoed freely through the house, a sound that Ethan promised himself he would spend the rest of his life protecting. They even began to invite the town back into their lives, hosting small gatherings in the backyard of the cottage. The very same people who had once whispered toxic rumors now sat at their table, sharing food and laughter, completely won over by the undeniable sincerity of their bond. True love didn't just change Ethan and Olivia, it transformed the entire social fabric of Willow Creek. As the midnight sky wraps the meadow in a blanket of timeless stars on the anniversary of their reunion, Ethan and Olivia walk away from the ancient banyan tree, stepping forward into the bright, beautiful canvas of their forever. The long, agonizing wait is officially over. They had survived the test of time, conquered the bitter weight of silence, and built a bridge that would stand for the rest of their days. The past is finally dead, and their real life has just begun. Looking back, they realized that the 10 years of agonizing separation weren't entirely in vain. The distance had tested them, the silence had broken them, but the reunion had remade them into something completely unbreakable. They were no longer the naive children who had carved naive promises into the bark of a tree. They were two resilient souls who had looked into the abyss of a lost life and actively chose to fight their way back to one another. Every scar they carried from the lonely city apartments and the exhausted clinic shifts was now a badge of honor. It was living proof that some bonds are forged in eternity, entirely immune to the fragile constructs of human time and space. As their silhouettes slowly fade into the soft, glowing mist of the eastern meadow, their footsteps leave a permanent impression on the damp earth. They walk forward into the crisp autumn night, leaving the ghosts of their past exactly where they belong, buried deep beneath the roots of the ancient banyan tree. The long, dark night of their souls is officially over, and the morning sun of their forever is finally ready to rise.